I'm in the process of writing my first ever book, and I'm doing it without hustle, without burnout, and without any strict deadlines. And I think I'm doing it a bit differently than how most people write books. And that's because I live a bit differently. I have a slow living lifestyle. And so I thought it would be interesting to share how I'm going about writing my first ever book. But first, hi, my name is Emily, and I am a therapist in private practice who I work with moms who are experiencing burnout to help them, connect with their children and their husband and to heal. And then I also work as a mentor for overwhelmed, overworked women who want to have a slower paced life that is more fulfilling. If you ever you'd like to work with me, the information is in the description below. And so, given that information that I just gave you, the book that I'm currently working on is about hustle culture, really an anti hustle culture text that talks also about motherhood, and the difficulties around motherhood, and about slow living. And it's really, in a sense, a book that is part guide, part manifesto, part memoir. It's really something that I've been called to write. And I think that's like the best thing you can do when you're trying to write a book is to find something that you're called to write. I've always wanted to write a book ever since I was young. And I always thought that to write a book, you had to have like a really firm idea of what the book was going to be, that it was going to be a long book and that it was going to be like highly researched and that a book takes years to write. And I was comparing myself to other books. And so to give you a sense though, I'm writing a nonfiction book, right? So it's like more of a guide book or a self-help book, if you will, but it's not a fiction book, it's a nonfiction book. But to write a nonfiction book, like what are some popular books that people read a lot? The Psychology of Money, the book that I love, which is Essentialism by Greg McKeown, stuff like that. Those are books that are 300 pages plus, and they're highly researched and highly edited, and they're written by people who know what the hell they're doing. Okay, these are people who generally have a lot of writing under their belt. Maybe that's academic writing, maybe they've written other stuff, maybe they've written blogs, maybe they've. And then here comes little old me, um, who I don't I always said that I wasn't a good writer, which I don't know if that's actually true. It's just a thing I used to say about myself, and it's mostly because I love to talk. I'm a talker. I love to just say stuff. With writing, I'm very much a recovering perfectionist. So I would, reread my stuff and erase and reread and rewrite. And so in school, I actually had a really difficult time in elementary because when I was doing tests, I would erase and rewrite because it was imperfect. I had an easier time in university writing essays. I was really good at writing essays, surprisingly, but I'm a procrastinator. So I would wait till like the day before it was due and write like 15 pages. Just how my brain worked, I think, because I built up the stress so much and it just came out all at once. But I was actually really good at writing essays. I read back on them. I'm like, wow, I sounded smart, and now I just sound meh, right? um, but then I just I didn't feel like a writer. When I started my private practice a couple years ago, I was like, I should start a blog. And I'm like, but you suck at writing, which is like, I don't know why I kept saying that to myself. I kept saying to myself, you suck at writing. Um, and how it started, like I guess this journey to actually writing this book started with those first blog posts that I wrote for my private practice. And I just told myself that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? So I'm trying to overcome perfectionism. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just had to be like good enough. And so it's still up, but because I use it still for my private practice, it's called the Good Enough blog. And the first actual article that I wrote on there, if I can get to it, um, the first blog I wrote was called Overcoming the Fear of Failure. So that's the first thing I ever wrote by myself, not being told to do it by school, not being told to by work. The first thing I wrote by myself, just like you're going to write it. And it's called Overcoming the Fear of Failure. And like it says, starting my blogging journey with a post about the fear of failure feels right. This is something that I struggle with personally, and the primary reason I have been procrastinating on writing my first blog post. I can link this blog post in the description if ever you're interested in reading it. That was my first time I ever wrote something. Now I've written a couple more after that. And if you think about it, a lot of the videos that I post on here, they're somewhat lightly scripted. So, I'm writing. Anyway, but then it came time, I'm like, you know what? I feel pulled to write a book. I write a lot, I make a lot of YouTube videos. I have Instagram, I see clients, but I felt like I had this need to write a book. I needed something to hand to someone else, almost like a love letter to moms, so that they could hold it and they could see themselves within it and they could find solace in it and they could grow from it as well, because there is a guide part to it. Um, and then I just overthought it. I was like, oh my God, how the hell am I going to write a book? So I decided to write a smaller book. It's not going to be 300 pages. It's probably going to be 150 pages because honestly, I'm like, do moms want to read a whole giant book like that? Maybe not. And a lot of the books that we see nowadays, like the big books, they're often repeating the same concepts over and over again, and then which is helpful because it really drives it home. But I just wanted something that people could like find the chapters that meant the most to them and they could just go to it. And I wanted the book to sound like me. I just wanted it to sound like I was talking to you. And so I sat there on my computer and I planned out the book, which was fairly easy to do because it really follows the same kind of journey that my mentorship takes you down, and the levels of awareness that I take my clients down. So the structure was fairly easy to figure out. And so I had like an idea of what I would speak about in each one. And then I'm like sitting in front of my computer, I'm like, okay, write. And nothing. I can't write. I can't sit there and write anything. Um, and then I can't write a book if I can't write. And then I'm like, well, what are you good at? Talking. I love to talk. I make YouTube videos. I just love to talk. I love to talk to people. I express myself better that way because I don't have to overthink it. It just flows out. And so it's more authentic to me and it's more real, I suppose. And so I was like, okay, how can I do that? So what I started to do is on long car rides or when inspiration struck, I would just I would just record myself. Just record just the audio, not me like filming myself, but just the audio like sitting like in my cup holder. And I would just talk about what the chapter was about. And I would then go through my phone, have do a transcript and all that. And with that alone, I've written most of the book, which is wild to say. Now, most was all the transcripts, right? And I'm going to go back to my old videos as well because there might be nuggets of information in there or I don't know, pockets of of things that I want to take with me for the book. So a lot of it's going to be now that it's mostly all on the page. It's got to go through my YouTube videos and old blog posts and everything else that I posted. It's mostly just making sure that there's a flow. So that's wild to me that it didn't take me that long to write a book, or it's not going to take me that long to write a book because I did it in a way that respected the person that I am. Because I knew that I couldn't just, like, I tried the things. The things that they told me to do was plan like days in the week where you're going to write, book 30 minutes and just sit there and write. Write a first sentence and then you'll just keep writing. I tried. I really tried. And I couldn't. I just physically couldn't. It wasn't for me. And it's so easy to like sit there and it doesn't work and to think, well, then I'm just not made to write a book. But I feel like it's like such a way to gatekeep something, right? Like you can only write a book if you spend 3 years on it. You can only write a book if it's heavily researched book. You can only write a book if it's 300 pages. You can only write a book if you are someone who likes to write and can sit down for a consistent amount of time. Like I am no Stephen King, right? I am not going to sit there and just write and write and write. But I am Emily. and I can talk and talk and talk. So I've been writing my whole book through recording myself talking, and and then pulling in, because I like pulling in quotes that I know from books too that are really important to me. Because I really want to also turn you guys on to some of the books that I really love, right? By infusing them into the book, so that you can also like maybe, hey, I love that quote from that book. Let me go check out the book from some of my favorite authors in the space. So that's what I'm doing, um, which is kind of fun to do it that way. Um, and so that really beats my procrastination because, hey, I'm driving somewhere, let's just talk kind of thing. Perfectionism, is my book going to be perfect? No. I don't even know, like, what does perfect mean? For me, I want it to be something that is in my voice and that will speak to others and that will help them. And I feel like I'm doing that with the way I'm doing it. And also, like, I live a slow living lifestyle, which means that um, I have a lot of space between important meetings. Like, I see clients, but I also have days where I don't see clients. I have time spent with friends. I live my life my way. So it only makes sense that I write my book my way and really hold on to that good enough mentality. And so, in terms of deadlines, I don't have any strict deadlines for writing this book because deadlines don't work for me. I understand that they can be really helpful to make sure that things are finished, but they just like, I'm just someone, if there's a deadline, I'll stress out and just push it, especially if it's a self imposed deadline. If it's like a school imposed deadline, then I'll do it. But if it's a self imposed deadline, I won't do it. So, my loose deadline that I have, okay, my loose plan is that I'm going to finish the transcription in July. Transcribing, looking at my videos, putting it all on the page, it's all already segmented into different chapters. And then I'm going to really help with the flow, you know? I'll probably do that. I'm thinking I'll go outside in nature to do that. Because sitting in my office, I just don't have it doesn't hit me, the inspiration doesn't hit. So I think I'm going to be outside in nature doing that. And I'm also going to be putting posts up on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram, on my newsletter, all that kind of stuff, to ask for help with naming the chapters and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, um, and then yeah, I'm gonna get it edited. But not too forcefully edited because I still want it to be my voice. I just want to make sure, like, sometimes I have this bad habit of like thinking people can read my mind. And so I do need help to just make sure that it's understandable for people who can't read my mind. Um, but when I say read my mind, sometimes I say things, but I just think that you know what I'm saying. So sometimes my husband will be like, I'll say something, he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're not in my mind, so you don't know exactly what I'm saying." Um, and I'm probably gonna get some of my mentorship clients to get the first draft to look it over because they are really a big inspiration to me for it. Um, and yeah, and then yeah, so I'm hoping that'll come out in the fall of this year of 2025. Um, and I know what the title is, but I'm not gonna tell you guys just yet. Because it might change honestly, but right now it's I think it's pretty set in stone. But yeah, so all that to say, if you want to write a book, it can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be perfect the first go. It's not going to be perfect. Just go through the process of doing it and enjoy the journey. Like right now, I'm enjoying the journey. And regardless of, it's not going to be my book. I don't expect it to be a New York Times bestseller. But there's something to be said about the feeling of accomplishment of just being able to do this. When you have spent most of your life doubting your abilities and just doubting yourself in general, the feeling of being able to do a certain thing is really rewarding. And what I hope a lot when I do these things, when I make videos, when I bear out my soul, is that you guys can see that you can also take chances on yourself and trust yourself and take leaps. Um, whether that be writing a book, whether that be starting a YouTube channel, whether that be starting your own business. Trust yourself and do it your way. That's the biggest thing. Do it your way. So yeah, I will give more updates on the book process when it comes up. I also am going to give some updates on my business journey because I have made some videos about that. I have to do businesses, so maybe it'd be interesting for you guys to know what I'm doing in that capacity. But anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for lounging with me on my couch. I will see you in the next video. Keep living your authentic life.